gives me some excitement to step the program on now. This is perhaps a little indulgent of me. As some of you will know, we started discussions about 2 years ago on the greening of streaming and sustainability issues in the CDN and in the streaming ecosystems. That's grown somewhat, and rather than wear my own hat and change hats and confuse everyone, I've asked Adam to come in and talk about what we've got going as the greening of streaming. So with no further ado, let me pass the microphone to Adam. Adam, are you there?
Hi, Dom, I'm here. Can you see some slides?
It's working, and when I remove my spotlight, you'll come to the fore. Over to you, sir.
Awesome, thank you very much. So, hi everyone, nice to meet everyone new. So what I'm going to be doing is talking a little bit about greening of streaming, why we've been set up and what we're trying to do. And then two of our very active members have very kindly agreed to come on and talk about what they're doing together to further sustainability within the industry. So to start with greening of streaming, I'm going to show you our mission statement, which gives you a very broad brush approach of what we're about. We are members of the streaming industry at all levels of the supply chain and value chain. And the idea is we're working together to expand the sustainability across the sector and make sure collectively we're doing the best we can to be as green as we can. So Greening of Streaming is founded broadly by some senior engineers and technical specialists who have been working for a long, long time. I'm sure many of you know Dom and realize he's been in the sector for years. And the idea came about, everyone has been focused on originally price and performance. So like many industries, to start with, it was how quick can we make the product? And as our previous speakers have been talking about, the next thing is everyone has been pushing down price. It's competing on lowest cost to get the product out to the public. And some very competent engineers have focused on, well, great, we've been expanding the sector. We've been making this the best product it can be. But how green are we? What are we actually doing to ensure that it's sustainable as it grows? So the idea of greening of streaming is to bring together members across the industry and keep them interacted with the public and the media, so the press, to get the message out, and eventually the policymakers, because at some point it's possible that as the world focuses on sustainability, there will be some form of legislation. So we want to be on the front foot and explain to everyone what we're doing as the sector to be proactive about the sustainability issues. So to that end, why streaming? Well, current estimates are that streaming represents about 3/4 of the internet traffic. And this is arguably 2 to 3% of global energy consumption, which is estimated to be broadly in line with the aviation industry. And obviously, I'm sure you're all aware that the flack that the aviation industry is getting, and they've tried to push the problem away. So the streaming industry has decided to be proactive and start addressing this before the fingers are pointed at us. Obviously, the last year has seen a massive change in people's behavior. The COVID epidemic has meant that we've suddenly increased our consumption of streaming in a step change. It's been our entertainment, and it's been a replacement for travel, for work, doing exactly what we're doing now. So obviously we're promoting streaming as a good thing. It absolutely is. It's brought some wonderful, worthwhile changes to the world, but it doesn't come at zero sustainability cost. Certainly straw polls that when we've been talking to people, they've not considered the impact that replacing their car journey with a Zoom call has made. They almost assume that there's zero cost. But currently estimates are that, depending on what you read, an hour of streaming is using about the same power or carbon requirements as driving 1/4 mile in a car. The other thing that's very important to notice is that in the last few months, certainly in the UK, there's been a focus on the environmental impact of the cryptocurrency mining. Now, for many people, this is a kind of abstract problem. They sort of envisage banks of servers in Russia and it was China until they had a change, obviously, in their policy in the last few months. But people sort of envisage pictures of banks of servers mining away, and arguably even, excuse me, they get, anyway, it doesn't appear to affect them in any way. So Greening of Streaming is being put together as a not-for-profit organisation, and we're funded by our members. All our monies go back into growing the company. We've got policy in place. It's in our article of association. It's non-distributable. We must put everything into growing the company and furthering our policies. We're also a members-led organisation. So our members have all stepped forward as at the moment to be board members and steer the direction. They agree where we're focusing our energy, what participation we need to take part in, and we're forming steering groups to drive the company forward. So one of the things everyone has signed up to is there must be no greenwashing. Everyone has signed up to be engaged in the spirit of the company. Signing up does not absolve you of responsibility, and we expect our members to be actively participating in furthering their sustainability. Now, it's very important that this doesn't seem to be a drain on time and resources. So at the moment, we're hoping for a few hours a month while we get up and running, and hopefully the members feel that this shouldn't be an excessive amount of time to be required to be part of our group. In return, Greening of Streaming will be proactively engaging with the media to get the message out. So to that end, we've been interviewed already by a few MPs in the UK, a couple of our important newspapers, the broadsheets, the Telegraph and the Guardian for those that know them. And later this week, we expect to be interviewed by BBC Television. So our job is to get the message out, to say, look at what our members are doing, to be positive and change the world for the better. As I said, part of our thing is we set up working groups. So our members have stepped forward to take part in projects that interest them. And the first working group we set up is a lexicon working group, we've called it. As things stand, everyone appears to be reporting KPIs in different ways. There's no consistency. Even the terms people are using seem to vary. So it's kind of exciting. We've got very international mix of companies. So we've had people step forward from several countries, which is even better, to try and get agreement and create this lexicon so that we can all work together and move the company forward in at least agreeing terms. The next working group we created was an outreach canvassing group. So this is, again, using our contacts within the industry to try and grow Greening of Streaming's reach, to encourage other people to sign up, because we all only work together and win together. We're also asking our members what they want to understand that the public understand about streaming already. And we have asked our members to put forward questions that they feel are relevant. And we've engaged YouGov in the UK, which is a polling company, and they will be creating the right list of questions and sending them out to a representative sample of people at all levels to try and get back for our members what people understand about the streaming industry as is and its sustainability. We will be presenting the results of this, which I'll get into in a minute. In December, we have a parliamentary launch where we'll be releasing the results of this. The other thing we want to do is get a definitive position. We want to commission an academic paper. We want to use an independent third-party academic institution to get a true state of the industry. At the moment, we have assorted estimates that the industry, various people have produced on how much energy the streaming industry is currently using. We want a definitive position, and then as members, we want to share best practice amongst ourselves and then we can actually measure the impact that our changes are making to see how we're improving sustainability. If we really are using 3% of global energy, then presumably a very small change could result in a very big saving of carbon. So as I said, one of the things we're doing is to get the message out is we've been active since the 1st of October. And in December, we're doing we'll call it a hard launch. It's our first bit to really put Greening of Streaming on the map. And it will be held at the UK Houses of Parliament. And we will be inviting our members of the press and media, and MPs to come along and see what Greening of Streaming is about and start really pushing the message. And we would welcome anyone that signs up as members in the meantime. We will welcome you all there in person. And one thing I keep getting asked is, do you have to be a UK citizen to be invited to the UK Houses of Parliament? And the answer is absolutely not. You are all welcome to attend as long as we're sponsored by an MP, which we will be. So in conclusion, Greening of Streaming is looking for members still. We're working across the streaming sector. We're looking for people from the bottom to the top. And it would be lovely if anyone watching that's involved in the actual content suppliers would consider joining us. We've managed to get a wide range of companies signing up so far, but it would be great if we actually had some content delivery to join us. So in conclusion, please join our members, and we would love for you to come and see what we're about. Please raise any questions with me, and I hope I can answer them. In the meantime, I'm now going to close my screen, and I'm going to ask Nehal, Mehta, and Lars Larsson from Intel and Varnish, respectively, who have very kindly stepped forward to join me and discuss what sustainability means to them and their company, what they're doing to further it. So, hi guys, are you there?
Oh, Adam, can you hear me?
Hi Nehal, I can hear you very clearly. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Hi Adam, I'm here as well.
Excellent. Hi Lars, glad you could join us. Thank you very much. Hope everyone's well. So I guess the best thing to start with is if I can ask each of you to talk about what sustainability means to you and your companies. Who would like to go first?
I can go. So, I might have said this before, but, at Intel, we aspire to be a global leader in sustainability. And, Intel believes that it's a corporate responsibility in whatever we do, whether it's sourcing material or building our fabs or, getting involved in initiatives such as this. And specifically for streaming, my opinion is that there is a lot to be done in working with our ecosystem partners and our customers to help them reduce their environmental impact. And in our inauguration launch meeting that we previously had, it is very clear that there is lots of interest across the value chain, and it appears that there is potential room for improvement in reducing the carbon footprint across the value chain, whether it's on the production side or the ingestion side, be it media processing and packaging side or the delivery side. And we also heard a lot about what can be done even in on-prem and devices side. And to me, there's no question that the CDNs today are going through a transformation, and there's lots of room to improve and help contribute in reducing the carbon footprint.
Sure. Thank you. That's very clear. Lars, would you like to say how Varnish feels that sustainability is impacting them?
Of course. So before I talk about that, perhaps just a couple of words of introduction. Everyone may not be familiar with who we are and what we're doing. So as the name indicates, we're a software company. And we provide an HTTP reverse proxy or web accelerator, depending on the use case, how you define it. And we're a company behind a product, open source product called Varnish Cache, which has been around for quite some time and are well established in the industry, currently powering approximately 8 million websites on the internet. And in addition to that, we're also providing our proprietary version that helps customers who have mission critical content distribution solutions and are doing private CDN, and streaming is a big part of that. And for us, when we look at what's lying ahead, is that there's no doubt that the streaming industry will continue to grow. That means that the transactions that we will see will increase, both in terms of number of transactions, but the customer also expect new formats, higher resolution, et cetera, and that's going to put significant requirements on the infrastructure needed to deliver that to customers. So our challenge is to try to address that and to help our customers become carbon neutral, which quite a lot of them have set out to do, or at least reduce energy consumption, CO2 footprint in the near future, while still delivering the new services. So it's quite a challenge.
Sure. So what role do you think technology can play towards these sustainability goals? And how is it help, you know, what is Varnish's technology doing to take us forward in the sustainability and carbon savings?
Sure. Well, as a starting point, we are doing caching. That's generally defined as recycling objects that will have already been produced. So having caching is sort of the starting point to be able to deliver content efficiently. And that goes across the industry, right? Our challenges specifically is of course to improve our software to provide more performance. And that is important because our customers will have to use less hardware, less power to deliver a lot more. And as we've seen in other industries, developing software is not sort of following the laws of physics. You can do amazing things and achieve amazing results by innovative software. And so we've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to work also together with Intel and try to develop them even more to try to optimize sort of software and hardware and processors. That's been quite amazing for us.
Excellent. So I guess, Nehal, that's probably a great time to bring you in. Obviously, Lars is saying in a perfect world, they're improving their software, so they need less hardware. So you're working closely with them. How's that working as a partnership?
No, it has been a great journey and a great learning. You know, we work a lot with many of the top CDN service providers, and there are multiple shifts happening out there that we see. And we see that software is becoming more and more critical than ever before. You know, most of the nodes are transitioning to 100 gig, 200 gig throughput. And with that, you know, CDN is a unique workload where you not only require decent amount of compute, but you also have to optimize your storage and network stacks. You know, you have security to address. And then there is also value in how you do or manage your buffer management and your memory. And, you know, with the shift in newer processor technology, the newer tiling architecture makes it even more critical for the software to be aware of, you know, how the hardware is laid out to ensure that, you know, the hardware is providing the best of what it can, but, you know, the software has to utilize it. And it has to be aware of, you know, what's available locally across each of the tiles so that you can minimize the cross-tile communications. And all of that, you know, we see that we are at a point where, you know, there's lots of room for optimization in the software. And, you know, we have enjoyed our collaboration with Varnish and helping them to improve the software on our hardware.
Sure. So Lars, I guess in terms of this partnership, is it something you can actually even measure the kind of, how would you measure the changes in terms of the environment? Is it the speed that it's processing, or is it the energy, Nehal, is it you can actually measure that you're using less power at a chip level? How can we kind of capture this, do you think, between us?
Well, I think, if you have an available target throughput, like I said before, let's say, you're connecting your node at a certain connectivity throughput of 100K or 200K or maybe 400K. What you want to see out of that CDN solution is that you can achieve close to the throughput, the connectivity throughput that you have. And that's the absolute measure, right? And then, you have lots of benchmarking data, that can give you different kinds of modeling for the kind of traffic you have, the number of connections you have, and so on. But regardless of, the different profiles, you would want to see that you're getting the max out of your nodes, right? So you would require less infrastructure if your performance is optimized at a node level.
Sure. So I guess, Lars, for me as a layperson, is this something that you kind of can measure in literally lines of code? Presumably less code means more efficient, therefore less processing power. Is it as simple as that?
Not really. That would be an exaggeration. It's probably different code, but it's also looking at what the software can do, how it can integrate with the processors in the hardware in a more efficient way. And I mean, we've seen some pretty good results. So if you would apply the same results to an electric car, it would be just amazing. But now it's software and it's like business as usual. But I think this is really important because not only will it reduce the energy consumption, it will also help our customers to basically lower the cost per gigabit delivered long term. So it's basically good business to continue to invest in the solutions that are more cost efficient.
Of course, and yeah, that makes it an easy sell because at the end of the day, our customers are always price driven. They're aware of the sustainability impacts, and if they can get both in the same breath, then it's got to be an easier way forward for all of us. So I guess that leads me on to my next question. Are there any headwinds or challenges that you can see that might limit the industry as a whole from achieving its goals in sustainability?
I can start. Over time, I don't see that. Short term, of course, replacing existing investment will take time. Of course, for new greenfield players, this is much easier. They can build based on new technology directly. But I also think that there are other things you can do with software that makes it even more efficient. So one of the things is to use cloud native technology, deploy your software with products like Kubernetes, which makes it possible to have a more dynamic setup to make sure that you use the resources only when required. I mean, most of us are probably aware that a standard server uses approximately 60% of the energy, even if it's idle. So I think it's a matter of being able to deploy your resources in a more dynamic way. That will take time, but I'm sure that most companies will have that in the next 3 to 5 years, which will have a massive impact on sustainability.
Of course. And Nehal, are there any, from the hardware side, are there any sort of headwinds and challenges you can think of that might cause a problem?
Again, I think what we are observing is that, the hardware can do what it can do. It's really how you can optimize your software. There is, again, lots of room to optimize the software. But generally speaking, I think we all agree that, the CDN industry appears to be heading towards a capacity cap, right? The peak capacity keeps on growing year over year, and the average capacity appears to be pretty stable. So now you have this huge disparity between peak capacity and your average capacity. And given that most of the CDN deployments today run on bare metal, the utility factor for the dedicated infrastructure continues to erode year over year. So I do agree with Lars that, what the CDN industry needs is to bring in scalability so that, you can not only scale at a given edge location, but, as and when needed, you could go deeper in the network and scale across the network too. But, all of this is easy to say. It's very hard to bring in a change when you have a brownfield deployments. It's much easier to do it, if you're deploying a new CDN infrastructure, or if it's a greenfield deployment.
Excellent. And how do you see the actual delivery part of the streaming industry impacting sustainability versus any other bit of the chain?
Well, I think all parts of the value chain have a role to contribute, in my opinion. There's not like one is better over the other. Particularly, talking about CDN, it appears that, the technology advancement comparatively, when you think of, the advancements in codecs or packaging and media processing and the production side, it feels that, in CDN, things have been pretty stable. There's no need to change if it's not broken or if it's not performing, and that has led to us in a situation where, there is definitely more that can be done. There's lots of focus right now, on optimizing and reducing your cost. But I think there's certainly more that could be done at even other aspects of CDNs, such as managing network congestion, making the CDNs more network aware, bringing in scalability in terms of how the software can scale. So there are lots of knobs and lots of areas for improvements.
Excellent. And Lars, do you have anything to add about the delivery part specifically of streaming?
No,
certainly leading on from what Nehal has said, I guess part of the issue from me as new to the sector is I understand you have your peaks and troughs, let's say a live event, which we know is a growth area of streaming. And I understand that part of the problem is actually when people are spinning down. And I presume that the software is going to be a big solution in condensing people onto fewer servers once they're coming off a big event.
Yeah, I think, like Nehal said, it's all about creating more dynamics and also move the workloads potentially back into the network and scale across what you have. I think that the savings there can be significant. But even though some of those networks are being built right now, as we said, we have a huge legacy and it will take time. But I think Greening of Streaming can certainly help and come up with good blueprints in the future, hopefully, that can be shared across the industry and we can all learn from each other.
Excellent. Well, I mean, certainly, yeah, that's one of the key things, our members have been wonderful at stepping up to do is sharing best practice as they can. Obviously, we appreciate certain things will be business sensitive, but if people have engaged in a problem and feel that it's something they can share across, that it's great that you've all agreed in principle that this is something we should and can do together. So I guess, and I thank you both very much for your time and telling everyone what you two have been working together as companies to improve sustainability. And I shall pass us back to Dom. I think we're just about on time.
Perfect.
And again, thank you guys very much. Dom, are you there?
Awesome. Thanks very much, Adam. That's a great session. Much appreciated. I was going to jump and give Nehal, well, Nehal's staying on because he's on in the next panel. I was going to say thanks to Lars, but he's disappeared off camera. But thanks, Lars. I know you're still listening. And oh, no, there you are. We'll just, I like to sort of say goodbye to people. So there we go. Give everyone a wave. Thanks very much, Lars. It's great to see you.
Thanks.
And thanks for your support with Greening of Streaming.